This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.
I saw a meme the other day that made me laugh for like 2 actual minutes, which is a long time for something on Instagram. But it said, everyone's an atheist until you clog your date's toilet.
Until you clog your date's toilet.
Right.
I've said a few prayers in there. Yeah. Like, oh, please, I'll do anything.
Yeah. That is hilarious.
Welcome to the ZuLoo Poodcast, where we talk all things poop, toilets, and sanitation. Through insightful news, impact stories, and quirky humor, we aim to discuss and highlight the critical role toilets play in whisking poop out of our lives, the impact toilets have, or lack thereof, in the health and wellness of humanity, and what ZuLoo is doing to help solve the current global sanitation crisis.
Hello. Welcome, everyone, to another fantastic, spectacular episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast.
Aren't they all
They
spectacular?
are all spectacular.
Yeah.
I do feel like we've been interviewing so many fantastic guests lately. Suzanne and I were just talking about this. It makes me wonder, what am I really doing with my life? We're talking to so many people that are making really big changes and have a huge impact on, water, sanitation, hygiene. And today we are going to, hop into our interview with Jeremy Bronen, the inventor/engineer of SedMed, which we'll tell you exactly what that is later.
Yep.
But of course,
That guy's a jack of, he jack of all trades. He's like, can do just about everything.
No, he was really cool.
Single-handedly.
Great energy.
Kind of like Spider-Man, just kind of can do it all.
In addition
It's
to
amazing.
that, he looks just like Spider-Man.
For a
Some
second,
say.
I was like, we are sitting down with Tobey Maguire. He looks so much like him. It's weird. And he had never heard that before, which kind of blew my mind. But
He's being humble. Oh, no.
yeah, he was just pretending because he looks like he could be his brother. It was weird. But okay, Darren.
So you should watch this episode on YouTube because
yeah, you need to see it. You need
otherwise
to.
you're picturing your
It's
mind,
uncanny.
but it's for real. We're not making it up.
Yeah, we don't ever make anything up. Okay, let's hear some poo news.
It's like if Spider-Man got into the toilet business,
Oh,
Yeah.
there
it'd be
you
the
go.
same thing.
Okay.
But anyway, speaking of toilets, we talk about toilets on the podcast or the Poodcast.
Yes, we do.
Have you ever had a situation where, and I've actually had this happen in my toilet at Puerto Rico,
Of course you have.
and it's a brand new toilet. It's like, what is going on? Where the toilet paper will swirl and swirl and swirl, and it just
never
won't, like gravity doesn't seem to
submerges
work.
completely.
It just doesn't really.
Mhm.
You ever had that happen?
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm.
Common problem?
I think-
Ish.
Yeah.
I know it's a first world problem. It's like
Yeah.
some people
As
don't.
long as it's not coming out, it's not a problem.
Right.
Yeah. Some
As
people,
long as I'm not having to clean off the floor,
Yeah.
I'm good.
some people don't have toilets, so I don't even know it's a problem. Oh,
Right.
So what if it swirls? Usually, there's a couple of problems. Well, it could be a clogged toilet. That's obviously a problem. But, especially if the water does eventually go down, that's not an issue. But usually it's related to your water level in the tank.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And I'll put a link in the show notes to this article, but it basically talks about usually it's a lot. There's an issue with some of these newer generation toilets which have smaller tanks, obviously to save water. What that really means is you flush a couple times instead. So how much water are you really saving, right?
Right.
But usually there's like a low
Sometimes
water
the
level.
older is better.
Yeah, low water level in the tank. And so, because it needs a certain level of
Like
water
force.
pressure
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
in order to get enough
Makes
weight
sense.
to actually, push it out. I'm not a physicist, but anyway.
You're not a
but,
plumber?
I mean, that's not rocket science. I think we all grasp that.
so anyway, but yeah, so the solution, sometimes you increase the water level in the tank. Usually there's a float in there and, we should have brought one for a demonstration, but if you ever open, if you're bold, you'll open the back of some people have never done that. They like lift the lid off the back just to see what's going on.
Right.
There. But usually there's a float in there that'll regulate the water level, and increasing that sometimes does the job, right?
Perfect.
Obviously, if it's a low flow toilet, there's some apparatus that you can add to increase the flow. Anyway, so these are, or sometimes I know with older toilets, sometimes the flapper down the bottom isn't closing properly, and so you won't just get enough water pressure to do the job, right? So,
Gotcha.
Yeah, we should probably get a plumber on because I act like I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't.
You know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah,
but I am known to
analyze toilets a little bit more than the average
even if I'm over at
person.
somebody's house, I'm like, I think I'm going to open the hood and see what's going on back in there, especially if it's a kind of a cool toilet. But
this is why, hence, we love toilets. We do, though.
I saw a meme the other day that made me laugh for like 2 actual minutes, which is a long time for something on Instagram. But it said, everyone's an atheist until you clog your date's toilet.
Until you clog your date's toilet.
Right.
I've said a few prayers in there. Yeah. Like, oh, please, I'll do anything.
Yeah,
that is hilarious. That is a good one.
What is the movie? Along Came Polly? That's the classic Ben Stiller and
Jennifer Aniston. Yeah.
I never saw that.
Oh, you haven't seen it?
No.
Oh my gosh. Great. We should totally splice in
a little bit of that.
A little
something
clip
of that. Okay.
But anyway, long story short, they go to their first date, don't really know each other, and they go to I think it's like an Indian food restaurant where they're eating with their hands.
That's all you have
highly
to say.
spicy foods.
Yeah.
And he is lactose intolerant. It kind of comes up throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But then he goes over to her house, her apartment, small apartment, New York City. And obviously there's not a lot of space. And there's like this basically sliding like paper door, like that goes to the bathroom. And so he's in there. I don't want to give away the scene, but
no spoiler alerts on a
25-year-old
movie.
It's even if you just don't watch the rest of the movie, it's a great date night movie.
For sure. But it's really funny. Those
it
two
gets
are
into a toilet
together.
situation where it quickly goes out of control. But anyway,
well,
you should check
speaking
it
of
out.
Right.
Toilets,
Speaking of toilets,
this is the perfect segue
into
Speaking
our
of control
interview with
and
Jeremy.
toilets.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Let's jump into
Spider-Man.
Toby/Jeremy's interview. Jeremy Bronen, we are so excited that you have agreed to meet with us. We've got a lot of great questions for you. So thank you for joining the ZuLoo Poodcast today.
Thanks for having me.
I've done a lot of research on your site. I found the background story to your, kind of your flagship product pretty fascinating. But before we dive into that, I would love to hear a little bit more about your background and kind of what led you to where you are now. What was this journey like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually grew up in Woodbridge, Connecticut. So a small town outside the New Haven area where we have some of the best pizza in the country. Maybe a different episode debate. And so, my father is a physician, always loved helping people. And he actually had a workshop in the basement. And so I grew up tinkering constantly with things. And that tinkering led me to realize like, okay, I really like making things. So I took that, applied it to mechanical engineering school at the University of Connecticut. And my senior project at UConn was actually sponsored by an individual who was living with an elderly woman who suffered from a stroke. And this woman then struggled to get around the house. Her name was Grandma Grace, is what he called her. Couldn't get on and off the toilet. And so they had to hire an expensive caregiver where this woman was being naked in the hands of a complete stranger, being lifted, void of her independence, but not void of a fall risk. And the caregiver is also at risk of injury as well. So that's when he knew something needed to change, right? So he sponsored my project. And, from there, I really just took it and ran with it. We started doing pitch competitions, accelerators, raising investment, just, the rest is kind of history. But I'd always had a knack for this stuff and just loved new innovation. Did not think I was going to be a toilet entrepreneur.
We haven't had anyone call themselves that yet, but we should start calling people toilet entrepreneurs. That's a great catchphrase. But tell us, more about the product. It's the Toilet Lift Assist. Yes. And how does it work?
Yeah, so it's a really simple product. So it helps people get on and off the toilet. So it mounts on any toilet, just like a regular toilet seat. So it's essentially a glorified toilet seat. So we say 2 bolts in 2 minutes. And so it lowers people down, providing resistance so they come down, locks for safety. And when they're ready to get up, it lifts up to 80% of their weight off the toilet with no electricity, no motor. It's actually the same technology that's in, an office chair. It's a gas spring or a port screen door or even a car trunk that allows these to open and close slowly. And we've taken that and mechanically optimized it.
Okay.
It's like a hydraulic, right? Hydraulic.
Yeah. I was so curious about that when on your site it said no electricity. So there's no charging this thing. It's never going to run out of battery. You don't have to plug it in. It is totally self-powered, basically.
Self-powered, maintenance-free, just very, very simple for the user, but very effective.
Awesome. And did you build the thing yourself as, this self-proclaimed tinkerer? Did you get in and figure out how to do this?
Not anymore. We at this point, we've gone through 9 iterations of the product over about 3 years. So the first ones were done in my garage, and then we moved to prototyping fabricators and through the ranks of those. And we're actually at full scale supply chain now. So we have a warehouse in Connecticut. We just got our nice production inventory batch of a little over a couple hundred units. So those are now being made with the manufacturer.
So, okay, I have a couple questions about, going from a product to turning it into a business. Those are 2 very different things. You can come up with something amazing, but getting it to market, getting it in the hands of people who need it. Are you guys, are you trying to go direct to consumer? Are you working with, nursing home facilities, hospitals? What's how are you getting it out there?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, for us, it is all about customer discovery. I'm a diehard, passionate, customer discovery fanatic. We did at this point, over 1,500 customer discovery interviews, taking it to the right stakeholders to really understand not only how our solution can be better, but what the problem is and how to best solve, the biggest problem for our customers. And so our beachhead markets, our primary markets are actually hospitals, as well as elder care facilities and health systems. So think assisted living, hospitals, skilled nursing, even independent living as well, are primarily our partners and customers.
And I watched when you go on the site, there's a very cool video that shows the product. But now I'm wondering if I'm remembering correctly, it has handles on it as well, right? So whomever's using it is totally stable. Yeah, it's not like a trust fall.
It is.
Hopefully it's going to catch me.
It's not a cheap, flimsy product. It's solid steel, and it's built that way for a reason, so that it is solid and secure for people that are not solid and secure. And so the handlebars are there for them. The product is there for them, and the whole seat is there for them. So they have more to grab onto, more to push off of, and just more rugged security.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, Darren, I feel like I'm dominating because I could talk about this for a while. I have but go ahead. I feel like I keep jumping in before you have a chance to say something.
No, you're good. I just kept thinking of, my father-in-law just passed away, and for the past 7 years, he was unable to go relieve himself. He could not, because of his stroke that he had, he was unable to move his feet and physically get up out of a chair or sit down on a toilet. So, man, I wish I would have seen this a long time ago, as far as, and they had, these little, the little arm chairs that you can attach to this toilet. But even then, he didn't have the strength to actually, push himself with his, because it's like doing dips, it's like a push up, like pushing yourself. He was probably, I don't know, I would guess he was over 200 pounds. He was two something, so, but yeah, this is 80% of his body weight. That would be amazing to, and so, yeah, he obviously had to have somebody physically, pull him off the seat, and do all of that. So yeah, your thing just runs 100% on those. Is it 2 hydraulics on each side? Is that, or is there just one hydraulic does all that?
Yeah, it's a gas spring actually. So it's
Okay.
it's similar, but yeah,
I'm just throwing out like, hydraulic. That sounds like
it's close. It's
One
close.
of these will stick.
it looks like a shock brake or something. I don't know. I don't know what.
But so honestly, what we saw is as well, like, I got into this because I saw this, there's all of these problems here. And the more I got into it, the more of a bigger problem I found. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, actually, is the clinical outcome aspect of it. You could dive into a whole other aspect of the problem and solution. But you go into somebody's apartment, and you see all these electric lift chairs in their living rooms, right, to help them get on and off from watching TV. But a bathroom which has slippery floors, hard ceramic surfaces like the bathtub, the vanity, the toilet, and you have people straining during bowel movements, which can cause, and I'm not medical background here, but it can cause you to get a little bit faint, right? So it's just a recipe for disaster. And we kind of looked at this and said, okay, it's very clear this is an under-innovated area. Maybe people don't want to get their hands dirty, but we're going to step in and help people because we know that there's a need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my boyfriend just had double knee replacement. Mm-hmm. And he said, we're like 6 weeks out, so it's very, very fresh. And he said, without a doubt, and he's a big, strong, active 45-year-old. We're not talking about an elderly person. He said by far the hardest thing was just lowering down to the toilet and then trying to get back up. It was so painful. So, this doesn't just apply to, an older demographic. There's all kinds of use cases for something like this. And I think I read a quote from you in an article when I just thought it was really insightful when you said not being able to independently go to the bathroom isn't just a physical problem, it's an emotional problem. And when you talk about Grandma Grace and, the lack of dignity she probably felt when someone is trying to help her do these things, she's older, she feels vulnerable. That takes a huge mental toll, which in turn takes a big physical toll on anyone in that situation. Darren and I have had the privilege to interview a lot of people who were coming up with really innovative products in like toilet seats, toilets, health monitoring in the toilet bowl, all kinds of cool things. But, this specifically, I think, hits home for everyone when they think about that loss of independence, that loss of privacy, and just how, you're just kind of at the whim of someone else's strength, someone else's, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. You have to rely on someone in a way that would be very difficult for anyone in that situation, male, female, older, younger, whatever. So, I'm thinking of this in like a physical therapy setting, for all ages. It just seems like, I can't believe no one's done this before.
So is it mainly, Jeremy, is it, you said mainly hospitals, assisted care, living, but is it, do you have customers that buy it for their own home as well?
Yeah, it's funny because our primary markets are those, but, we've had investors in the company that have called me up and said, hey, actually I had a family member, grandmother, who injured herself lifting her husband off the toilet. Can I get a toilet lift? I'm like, done, sending over now. And so it's pretty remarkable how many times I'm at a trade show or I talk to somebody and they say, this is great for my facility. We'd like to sign up for one of your pilots, your trials. But, I'm also thinking about my parents or my grandparents. So we do have that option for direct to consumer as well. We remain open to that on our website also.
So somebody could just order it as for their own delivery to their home. They could order one instead of, a hospital buying all, 50 of them or whatever, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Cool.
How much does the lift assist set someone back? Like what's the price point?
Yeah. So right now it's a $1,200 MSRP. And so that is primarily because it's a facility model, right? So I said before, it's rugged and it's durable. This thing has a useful life of years and you could hit it with a truck and it'd probably still be okay. So that's why we opted for the premium facility level device with that price point. And we actually plan in a couple of years to have a consumer one that's a little bit better priced and actually is just a little bit smaller and sleeker for consumer homes as well.
So this is, I mean, potentially this is like a legacy product. Your grandma buys it, she passes it on to you, you pass it on to your kids. So, but honestly, when you think about that investment and the risks that you're avoiding, to me, that kind of seems like, heck yeah. What? Well, yes.
So our mission and our value and our value props have remained the same since this Grandma Grace inspired the company. Mm-hmm. However, in the past, 3 months alone, we found that most of our facilities that were really diving into the product liked it because it was keeping their staff safe from injuries, lifting people, which is really common in healthcare. And so when you start to really dive into that, like, oh, your staff are getting injured, and then you start to realize, okay, that's bad. What are the costs associated with that? And when you really start to dive into it, there's a massive cost savings opportunity from a health system and facility perspective that we just uncovered, and now is really at the forefront of our, kind of our journey here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you hear about that all the time. The caregiver suffering injury from, helping the patient or the spouse or the parent. So yeah, I mean, something like this really covers all the basis of, risk or fall related injuries in the bathroom.
Yes. Yeah. There's a lot of problem areas that we go after. Exactly.
I'm curious, Jeremy, what issues did you have in the development of the product itself? I mean, were you just putting together? I'm curious to know the process when you're putting together the prototype. Were you like, cutting down some trees and making a wooden one, or what was that like for you?
Yeah. So luckily I had a little bit of the engineering mindset kind of instilled in me. And so in that regard, it's iterative prototyping, right? Throw something down, right? Make something with, a vision in mind, and then take it to key stakeholders, ask them what they think, and then rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat and rinse and repeat. So what I kept doing was creating a prototype, bringing it to, doctors, PTs, OTs, nursing directors, rehab directors, administrators of hospitals, and asking them, hey, what do you think? And they'd say, I like this. This is garbage. And then just continue to iterate on it. And that's how we got to it.
Yeah. Were you just using like off the shelf components? Like
in the very beginning,
I'm use this. What were we calling it? It's not a hydraulic. What is the
gas spring?
Gas spring.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, let me pull this gas spring off my car and stick it on here on this toilet seat. And, was that kind of...
Yeah, in the very beginning, it did switch to more, when you're dealing with, bent and cut sheet metal that's pretty thick, you got to start to switch to some, more capable fabricators. So we switched to some people that could really produce something. And then, from there, it became like, okay, that's great. We got something. We know people like it, but like, let's make sure it's safe and effective and going to last. So that's when we started life cycle testing. We have some great videos on that of us just cycling this for tens of thousands of times, pushing it down, unlocking it, pushing it down, unlocking it, just nonstop to ensure we have a quality product.
Right. Mm-hmm. Nice. Awesome.
This is not a business podcast, but we do talk to a lot of entrepreneurs who are inventing things in the sanitation space, in the medical industry. And it does seem like there is this consistent theme with inventors and entrepreneurs. And I remember reading this, I can't remember if it was a professor or someone on your team said, what's really unique and special about Jeremy is this just absolute resilience. Like nothing gets him down. He's willing to go back to the drawing board. He will try it again and again and again and again. And that is a theme with all of these entrepreneurs that we talk to. I think that is like, maybe it's something you're born with or a skill that you've had to, really hone and like develop. But I love, I don't know that I'm one of those people. I'm like 3 rejections, I'm out. But just the ability to hear that again and again, but believe so strongly in your vision and in your mission to, help people avoid these injuries. I think that's really admirable. And I love that there are people who have that because a lot of us don't.
I appreciate it. And I got to be honest, if I had a fintech company, if this was some financial technology company, I don't think I could put the same amount of passion into it as I can with this. Being able to hear from a customer, get some of these interviews and talk to them and them tell me that this changed their life or reduced pain for them on a daily basis. I mean, that's really what does it for me and lights my fire. And so, yeah, but there is a good amount of rejection. And there's also rejection where you figure out rejection is kind of fake. Like I had one investor, I called, emailed, texted 20 plus times, no response. 21st time, whatever it was, 24th, whatever. He's like, oh yeah, I'm in, let's meet for lunch. I'll bring you the check. And so, it's kind of where you kind of learn you just push through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you have some of those stories or examples of, how it's changed people's lives that you could share with us? Like what's a specific story?
Yeah. I mean, the first person that ever tried the product in a health setting, I got to speak to on the phone. And, at this point, we're like, okay, we know you have a good product, but like, it's still brand new. Like, is it going to work the way we want it to work? Is she going to be happy with it? Is it going to be comfortable, effective? And the whole idea with this was it was a trial, right? We want to get mileage on it so we can get more opinions, right? Kind of like data. It's like an experiment. And so she was supposed to have it for 2 weeks. And then the next person was supposed to have it for another 2 weeks and the next person. And she said, please don't let them take my toilet lift away. Please don't let them take it away. This has changed my life. It reduced the pain in my knees. I feel independent and graceful. And I mean, I got the chills. I was just like, that is like all I needed more than anything to just charge on, and so that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, I'm curious, does SedMed have other products that are in the works? Do you guys see a future creating? I think I read on your site, like the whole point of this is to continue to help people. Was it, just be safer in their home? What other things are you guys working on?
Yeah, I can't go in too much detail, but what I can say is, there's a lot of great, fall detection companies. There's a lot of great, digital health companies that are coming out that are solving all these problems, and they are needed. But we live in a mechanical world, and a lot of the older adults and people with disabilities out there have a lot of mechanical problems. And I pride ourselves on sticking to our strong suit and sticking to this very vulnerable gap in these people's lives of their activities of daily living where they struggle. And that's really where the future, I think, of SedMed is going, is to solve these mechanical problems for people so that they can live a better life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if you think of the demographics of the country, we're just aging, population's aging. I mean, I think you're right in the sweet spot there as far as the demographic need for products like this. And I think it's really cool.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I think the world has evolved in such a way that we revert to tech to solve so many of our problems. Like there are still functional issues that we haven't solved. And it sounds like you guys are focusing on that. Hopefully by the time I'm in my 80s and need this, they'll be sold at Costco. I can run down and get one there.
And it doesn't require Wi-Fi to operate it. That's the thing.
Exactly.
We have
No
a lot of entrepreneurs we've had on the show about the future of toilets. I mean, it's all fascinating and amazing, but if you lose your internet connection, your toilet stops working. I mean,
right.
But I think your price point is very. I mean, even for a consumer. I think I spent close to that on just my bidet. Like it's a higher end bidet, but still, it's like.
Darren's got the fancy bidet. I've got the medium bidet.
I'm a big proponent. One of the first things I did in our office was install a bidet. I said, "Hey, neighbors, is it okay?" They said, "Great."
Yeah,
they are life changing.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to think, okay, what am I going to invest in this thing that it's kind of like your mattress that you sleep on, right? You think, if you don't really invest some really money into that, okay, you're going to have a crappy night's sleep, right? But I mean, to me, the toilet is the same thing. And you know, what is maybe you know the statistic, Jeremy? Is it? It seems like I read somewhere where majority of the slip and falls, right, and injuries in the home, it's all, I mean, in a bathroom, right? Because you've got hard porcelain sinks, showers, slippery surfaces. Is it? I mean, kitchen may be right up there, but man, bathroom is like, you know, if you hear a slip and falls, it's usually in the bathroom, right? I mean, that's
people
where
85 and older suffer more than 50% of their injuries near the toilet.
50% of their 50%, right there. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, my parents are in their 80s. You know, I think, you know, yeah, I mean, if they're going to get injured, it's going to be on the toilet.
Get them night lights. We have a little SedMed night lights we give out. That's another added little safety thing you can do. I mean, the more we can do to promote safety there, the better.
Absolutely.
Well, Jeremy, we are coming to the end of our time, but thank you so much for sitting down with us, answering our questions, you know, getting the word out there about this truly life-changing and life-saving product. Before we go, I have one totally off-topic question. Do people tell you all the time that you look like Tobey Maguire?
I have not heard that, actually.
What? Oh my gosh, I thought for sure.
That's honestly, I would love to be Spider-Man. So that sounds awesome.
I know, not a bad one, right? Well, for people who are listening to this and not watching, it felt like sitting down with Tobey Maguire, like a younger version who's, you know, taking on the business world. But thank you very much, Jeremy. We appreciate it. And we wish you the best. We would love to, you know, do an update sometime down the line.
That sounds awesome. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right. How great was he?
Yeah, he's so great. Yeah.
Brilliant guy.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Really cool kid, very determined. It was fun to read, you know, in doing some research before the interview. So many people kind of said the same thing about him. He's so determined. He will not give up.
Yeah.
And, you know,
here he is.
Yeah.
I mean, to start the company, do the invention, raise the capital, and just continues to grow it and to take it to market. That guy,
kind of reminds me of Kevin, who introduced us to him. Kevin Tang.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
all of these smart kids
Kevin.
back east.
I know.
Yeah.
Something in the water.
Maybe something in the water.
Yeah. Well, we have a few smart people here too. But
a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're actually going to interview them on another episode.
Yes.
We have some really great ones. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well,
So, amazing to see what they're, just putting that ingenuity to work. And great for old people. My folks, I was telling my folks about it on the way from the airport about, hey, this toilet is going to help you actually stand up. And you said your boyfriend
he
has bad knees,
double knee replacement.
Oh,
so
wow.
something like that would, I mean, not just for old people.
help.
No, I can see that applicable in so many situations.
For
I mean,
sure.
There's a lot of times when getting up and sitting down is painful for whatever reason.
Veterans.
And, I mean, there's lots of applications for that. So
for sure. Awesome.
Yeah. Well done, Jeremy. We salute you.
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, we should have him put him on the marketplace. I think.
Yes.
Yes.
I know. Right now, he's saying they only sell it to industry, but you know,
they'll have
it'd be good to get it out there because
shortly.
for sure,
consumer model or whatever works. So
yeah. All right, you guys. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the ZuLoo Poodcast. Follow us on social media at our links in the show notes below. To learn more, visit our website, ZuLoo.org. If you liked the podcast, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. For even more ZuLoo fun, send us an email with your toilet stories to podcast@ZuLoo.com for a chance to be featured on the podcast. This episode of the ZuLoo Poodcast is sponsored by ZuLoo Inc., a benefit corporation dedicated to the goal of universal access to toilets, hygiene, clean water and sanitation through the power of social enterprise. Learn more at ZuLoo.com.